and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions, plural as in all of them. And another reading of, peace and respect, also bigzebra.com, as well as Mac. The beginning of the end of religions, as in all of them. I think that in overall reading frame, not only do these ancient stories not describe magic, but they do indirectly, implicitly describe great technology, which I think a very, very long time ago was mistaken for magic. And now that that's a tradition, and because it's a godly and perfect tradition, it can never change, religious people are stuck thinking of it as magic. I find some really creative translation work in the Bible, and that's highly frustrating. I even found some places where they used certain words because they thought it was cute. I guess they thought they were being cheeky or smart or something. Anyway, let's do some reading here, and we will, after this, perhaps entertain from the side chat. Picking back up at Genesis 9:29, and all the times of the giver of rest were transitioning God-elected Jubilee years, and he passed on. Now, the dead giveaway here is the word transitioning, the number 9, which in the King James, of course, is going to read 900. But 9 means transitioning, 100 meaning God, 50 meaning elected, or God elected, and 50 meaning Jubilee. Like, that's why 50 is the year of Jubilee. So, moving on then. I guess I should say what he passed on to. It doesn't say. But he was ruling in heaven for a time, obviously, because he's the giver of rest. He's the one who conducts end times. And actually, the word times right here referring to his life. If you go back and you look at the word times and then lived, the word times referred to lived, and then the word live actually means vivified or perfected or quickened. It doesn't mean just happened to be alive somewhere. So this isn't even in any way, nor should it be read in any way, that Noah was living on the planet 950 years. Those aren't acceptable ideas, since he's living in perfection, and no one's perfected on the planet. These were born generations and family building block sons, which always includes, even if it's not written, childbearing daughters. That's implied. So male and female. These were born generations and family building block sons and childbearing daughters of the giver of rest, those of appointed name, those who grew warm, and those open to persuasion. And those begat to them, and they begat family building block sons, who also begat sons and daughters, following after the flowing deluge, that means angels invading, of the large group of beings. Okay, so don't forget that they're in heaven right now. They've already ascended, and that's obvious when you talk about what kind of groups went into the Ark of the Covenant, or Noah's Ark. The family building block sons of those open to persuasion, see, now we're getting into something new, are called those who fail completely, those of the mountain land altar of Jehovah, those of the middle land of Jehovah, those like effervescent, intoxicating wine to Jehovah, and those prophesied you will be brought in by Jehovah, and those scattered and drawn to and fro, who are precious and are drawn of his desire. Scattered again is a reference to being not in heaven, but somewhere else. And that's the way that's consistently used, no matter what the topic is. Scattered and drawn. Of course, this is scattered not in heaven and then drawn into heaven. To and fro, who are precious and are drawn of his desire. So this is like a statement of God's persuasive abilities, or the Father actually persuasive abilities specifically. The sons of those who fail completely, men sprinkled like fire scattered. Wow, that's a cursing. Those spoken in prophecy, and those you will break her. In other words, those who will be broken by the events, those whom Jehovah will break. Then the sons of Javan, those like effervescent, intoxicating wine to Jehovah, are those of God of the coming, those of the circle of the kidney red beryl. This is another reference to red earth. And those who are a blossom bruised, and those who, and I injected the word are right there, those who are leaders. I know this is going like way too fast. I mean, these are such big topics. The best I can suggest is take advantage in some of your free time if you're interested, and use the link below in the description and go and look at all these and try to, I know they're complex ideas. I know they're complex because you're talking about major groups and then divisions within those major groups and what kind of people do what and all that. And it's a lot. And I guess I could take a half an hour just talking about one of these paragraphs. But I don't think it's a good use of time right now. If you guys want to look into it, please do. And they were scattered abroad on Lust Island. Guess what Lust Island means? And come rising out from amidst the heathen Gentile Goy. That's what the word nations literally means. Gentile Goy. Scattered abroad in the wilderness firmament of desperately wicked males with the accusing tongues of vulgar Gentile Goy. I think that one's pretty clear. Wilderness always means some place you kind of shouldn't be, might get you killed, some place that you're unfamiliar with, something like that. Also scattered were family building block sons of those who grew warm. Which one of those which was those who are black from ashes, those bound, separated, and limited of knowledge in Egypt, Egypt meaning literally limitation, those of a bow of the archer, that's the bow of the archer is a reference directly to Christ, who bends the bow and hunts and is a provider. And the bow is to be a snare. There's all these bow. By the way, never reads bow. It always means, an archer's tool or something shaped like an archer's tool. And of course, those subjected by traffickers. The sons of those black from ashes are those that drink now the wrath. That means they're going to stay for almost all of end times. Those of the circle of travail, that is the planet where we work, circle also meaning sphere. Those whom to be stricken or striking, they don't do the striking. The ones of thunder who roar like horses, having manes. the ones who are stricken, the thunder horses' manes, and the oath of perfection, and also those of low country. I need to take a second look at that because that looks like, did I write that twice or does it repeat that way? That really looks like I lost track and wrote it twice. Because, I mean, from there must have been something happened there. I apologize, guys. I'm going to look into this. Crap. Just change the spacing. Hold on a second. Try that again. What a process. Okay, great. I'm going to look into that again. That looks like it repeats. Those black from ashes begat the valiantly rebellious, and that same valiantly rebellious who was sick and diseased will be changed and will prevail upon the earth. Based on the idea of prevailing on the earth after a change, anyone want to guess what valiantly rebellious means? And what that's referring to? So it's born out of those who have the black ashes, who are black from ashes. Is this valiantly rebellious? Yes, I am well aware it had unusual eyes. And Noah's dad thought, that's not my kid. That's because it's talking about the first human in the universe. And no, it wasn't his biological son, nor was the female his biological mother, which is why he has no mother, no father, and no lineage. It's because he's the first one. You might notice that's a description of what is often conflated to be God, but the first human and or Adam. You'll notice that that is a description of Adam. But moving on. I'll just say it. I think the valiantly rebellious means Christ. And he is one who's changed and it will prevail. That is, today I have begotten you, something like that. Valiantly rebellious will be strengthened and mighty and be hunter and supplier of nourishment, proceeding in front of Jehovah. I think there's no denying it after that sentence. So that throughout the land, in like manner, it was said, Nimrod has become, and that Nimrod has been strengthened and mighty and become a hunter and supplier of nourishment, proceeding in front of Jehovah. Yes, they abbreviated that a little bit in the King James, but usually when they like quote the people like this, it's a more direct translation. Like when Eve says, "I have gotten a mature man from the Lord," it means she's gotten a truly adult in every way man. See, now that's speaking of Cain. Okay, meaning he comes to perfection, fully, truly an adult, like a grown-up, like a man, not a child man. And it came to pass, the first fruits of his kingdom were those mixed and anointed to be confounded, long-lasting, hidden and strong, the fortress of the heavenly one in the land of the country of two rivers. You'll notice this two rivers is spoken of again in the text in the book of Revelation, the two rivers of everlasting life and coming out from the thrones of the Father and the Son. And it came to pass, the first fruits of his kingdom referring to the hero, here Nimrod and or Christ, were, the first of his kingdom, were those mixed and anointed to be confounded. Like, how could they not be that? And also those long-lasting, right? The strong, the stubborn. Those hidden and strong. And those of the fortress of Anu, which thing means the heavenly one And where does this happen? In the land of the country of two rivers. Of course. Where else would the kingdom of Christ be? I wrote some stuff there. I guess I just explained all that. Yes. Okay. Genesis 10:11, a part of heaven. Yes, it's just a part of heaven. It's not the whole of heaven. And among the same firmament as heaven, became blessed in the meaningful step, building another increase in children in the abode of the Son of the Lord. This meaningful step right here, referring to angels taking a meaningful step, as in angels conduct end times. And that is what increases and fills in the abode of the Son of the Lord. And his emerging self was an awakened master. Really interesting, those words there. Awakened master. You see that in that idea in Hinduism and in Buddhism and, well, in a lot of philosophy of religion all over the planet, not just in the Bible. And by the way, that's a literal translation. I didn't make up I'm not creating phrases here. Of his watched city with enlarged streets, and his emerging self was of complete vigor, full of life, absolutely healthy, something like that. A newly emerged bridled city between abodes of the sons of the Lord and of complete vigor, the same a magnified great guarded city. So I'm sure that you guys can tell this is referring to the New Jerusalem, which belongs to the Christ to be governor, but in literal understanding of who it belongs to the people, because a Levite gets no land. A bound city of strong bulwarks bore strife to they like firebrands, and they travailing, and they causing travailings, and brought affliction on the waters with flames of destruction, but openings into heaven. Yeah, this is, again, people freaking out when they see heaven. And will it do all that? Yes. And other parts of heaven will be assisting in that as well. But it would only take just the appearance of the New Jerusalem and everybody lose their ever-loving minds. A lower region of heaven, fortified to go forth and enter in among the rolling sojourners, that means planets, of the encircled capital, that means like solar system with the earth in it, were those subjected by traffickers, where those subjected by traffickers took provisions belonging to his firstborn, who abolishes terror, and are to be descendants of the treading of the threshing floor of the publicized sayer, another reference to Christ, of truths, while dwelling on clayey soil, to show the abundant life to the villages upon the temporary tent of, I like this pretty funny, to show the abundant life to the villages upon the temporary tent of buttocks gnawing thorns. Like, it's not great living on the planet, living on an earth. And a dominion of mourning. And a quote, I shall break loose double woolen skins. Really like that expression right there. Double woolen skins. Like, it doesn't only protect you and you know, make you able to survive. It's not just that. It's excessive. I like the idea of being given excess. For those who will grow warm and tarry afterward for the scattered abroad. This is going to show up a lot in the next coming several passages. Tarry afterward. So you have some who grow warm. This part justifies why it seemed a little bit repetitive before, saying there's those who grow warm and those open to persuasion. And why are those two separate groups when they sound like they're the same? Because the grow warm here, in order that there need a tarrying afterward for another group called the scattered abroad, is because the grown warm have already gone to heaven. They don't need that testimony anymore. And then tarrying afterward for the scattered abroad means essentially the second half of end times. And obvious families subjected by traffickers spread abroad. Subjected by traffickers. This idea makes the traffickers and merchantmen preachers of whatever thing they're preachers. But traffickers of ideas. It will come to pass. Oh, by the way, whenever it says it will come to pass in the Bible, a more thorough reading of it, and the actual, it doesn't say it will. But since it's future tense, we can add it will. Come to pass includes the idea of and be better for you. You can inject and be better for you every time the Bible reads come to pass. Within the border of those subjected by traffickers, it will come to pass and be better for you that the hunter of fish, we all know who that is, and the provider of nourishment, another name for the same, will come to destroy those who chew the cud. This is a reference to a goat, a cloven hoofed animal that chews the cud, right? So evil, it's a reference to evil. And roar like lion whelps. In the King James, this reads young man, which means almost nothing. But in the actual definition, it means immature men who are like lion whelps that shake their head and roar loudly and do and say nothing. So again, speaking about people who are evil and they just move their mouth and they roar like lions with their long strengthened, impudent, hardened thoughts. Boy, there's a great description of an old-time preacher, isn't it? Isn't that great? And what will happen? This destroying of them, it will cause them to enter into the burning of the gathering sheaves of the threshing floor on the blood-dyed red earth with a great fight. There's a promise for the preachers. I wish they could read this and see that it's talking about them and repent their ways. Of telling people one of two things. You're either going to be immensely happy on the planet, or heaven is the place to be immensely happy, but be warned, it's very likely you're going to hell. And returning back to the overall idea of him, the hunter of fish, and the provider of nourishment, comes the idea what he is like a beautiful roebuck, glorious, pleasant gazelle, decked and adorned everlasting by means of an as yet fissure or crack or jag in a rock, something like that. How is it that he's adorned everlasting by means of an as yet fissure? Well, that crack hasn't opened. That is, end times hasn't started yet. The same saved are the family building block sons of those who grow warm, obvious kindred of the hunter-provider, slandered by the languages in the firm earth of the Gentile Goy. Languages of the Gentile Goy. It would work better if there was a comma right there, wouldn't it? Slandered by the languages, comma, in the firm earth, comma, of the Gentile, yeah. Gentile Goy. Sorry. No commas in the Greek lexicon. And those who grow warm toward the chief father, that is, they more assign value to the Old Testament rather than Jesus whom they actually meet. Absolutely every family building block son passed into a region beyond, that would be heaven, where there were brethren open to persuasion. I guess that's obvious. And they grew great because that same were given sons and daughters. That is those who grew warm or prospered, given sons and daughters. Naturally. Peace and respect. Welcome, Charles Amijo. If I'm saying that even close to right. If not, I deeply apologize. And theological introspection. Thank you both for coming up. Long strengthened and impudent, hardened thoughts. That's right. Ooh, that sounds like my parents. That's not great. You know, I worry about people who can't accept new information, because if they're wrong about something, they're going to continue to be wrong about it. And this is something highly likely to be wrong about. However, I think it's all about how reasonable the person is, how able they are to accept new evidence for things that they hold to be true. After all, if a person can accept new evidence, they can become corrected of something. And besides that, even if your parents perish in end times, which is, I mean, it's a possibility for anybody, I suppose. And it looks pretty random. Like you can't even tell who's going to make it and who's going to like physically live and who's not going to physically live. There's always restoration in heaven. So the worst that could possibly happen, as long as in their minds they can accept new information, for instance, like being faced with God for judgment, they can always repent of their old ways and go, okay, I was wrong. And that'll be cool. Or at least sure looks in the text like it'll be cool, as long as they like understand the new stuff. Okay, guys, be formulating objections, thoughts, etc. in the text of the side chat, please. I'm going to read just a little bit more and then we'll stop there. Those of the name, that is the name of conspicuous position, that is predetermined, will enter the hidden eternity successfully, led on. Did I misspell that? Anyone know how to spell led? Like guided. And those he cursed the breast of, that's the first time this is mentioned. You'll see this like cursed the breast. You're going to see that a lot. And those he cursed the breast of will be in strife under the elevated fortress of heaven. This literal translation is so easy, I think. I mean, there's some ideas that are complicated, but the family building blocks of the elevated fortress took advice and clung together in the wilderness of the trembling and travailing and dancing circle, and fear had them drawn out. Please bear in mind that the same fear is like fear of the Lord, as in one of the seven spirits of God is fear. That is to say, fear that you're going to mess it up. Fear that it's taken too lightly. Something like that. Fear meaning something more like respect. But I didn't want to change the word that much. Those he cursed the breast of delivered up him of the sown and sprouted sword. Look at all these names for Jesus. Who brought forth those who passed straight into the hidden region beyond. And the hidden region beyond begat two family building block sons of famous name and conspicuous position, i.e. Christ, to unify thoughts and divide the stream of waters, during the assured heated time, that's end times, and divide the earth. Wow, if you've read that casually without knowing the context, that could look bad. Two family building blocks, sons of famous name and conspicuous position to unify thoughts. They'll be unifying thoughts and dividing the stream of waters, waters meaning a large group of people, during the assured heated time, end times, and they will divide the earth. Yes. Why? Same reason as the slave laws. If someone assigns their faith, their belief, their understanding, well, when it becomes understanding, their faith and belief in the Father, then that's who saved them. After all, the name Yeshua or Joshua or Iesus or Jesus literally means Jehovah saves, Jehovah salvation. Okay? It's a reference, the very name Jesus is a reference to the Father, whom he comes from. So it makes sense that there are two family building block sons, the Father and the Son, of famous name and conspicuous position, who do unify thoughts and divide the stream of waters, people, into two separate groups during the end times. Why do they do this? To divide those of him of famous name of conspicuous position kindred from those of him of the famous name of conspicuous position, who is to be grieved and loathed, and is the least and not worthy, and is of smallness. Again, this word smallness, grieved, self-loathing, all that was a description of Jesus and kind of what he thinks of himself, that he's a lowly servant, not a haughty ruler. And he of smallness bore the not measured sinless. Not measured sinless as in were measured sinless, or were measured sinful, and plucked off and drew forth and led them to the village of death, which is and is of the new moon. That is the new time frame. New moon meaning a standard time frame. And what does he say of it? My noble honor is that I shall be flooded with the palms of their hands. I am stripped bare before my Father, who is El. I will be reducing to ashes the travailing sphere, where they now cry shrilly in a wilderness. Absolutely every one of the same who remain will be family building block sons of the one to loathe, and is small, and is not worthy, and of smallness. Now here we've changed topics, saying those who stay become belonging to, family building block sons, belonging to him to loathe, and is small and not worthy, and of smallness. So we had a contextual change here where he's now talking about the beast of Satan. And it will come to pass that those dwelling there will pass into freedom by entering the enumerated looming mountain of heaven. Before these family building block sons of the name and his obvious kindred slandered by language in the firmament of the blood red dyed earth of the Gentile Goy are able to. So first and second resurrection. The same obvious kindred family building block sons of the giver of rest of the travailing generations with Gentile Goy were these that were scattered abroad and or on a planet. And the Gentile Goy will remain scattered abroad in the earth and will stay there after the flowing deluge of angels, those who conduct end times. To stay after end times, not a good plan, by the way. My desire is that it will come to pass and be better for you in the earth, that absolutely every of mankind in the earth will be made better in the time when they find the final language termination. And that is of one way and determined, and is the final language used to cross the shore, as it is here promised to be. The final language they discover, which is going to be, I think, right after this. Have time therein. Yeah, it's soon going to go over that. I think I'm going to stop right there and leave it a cliffhanger. I think that's interesting. And it's about at the half an hour. All right, guys. You guys got anything? You guys got anything? Long strength and puny hard thought sounds like my parents was the last comment. Last time I looked, and the last comment. Okay. So you guys have nothing right now that you need or want answered or is coming to mind. Feel free to repent that idea and put comments under the video when you have more time or have had more time. But until next time, guys, and you never know what time I'm going to do one of these things, so I don't expect the same audience and you guys to like drop in the middle of dinner or something crazy like that. Love on your family, spoil them rotten every chance you get, and don't forget to spoil yourself a little bit. Till next time, guys, peace and respect to you all. I want you all to know that I truly do look forward to the day that we're all great friends. Peace.